Nicadeamas tutorial 2, general mapping walls. Shift S for your selecting tool, or up here. Select your brush using the 3D grid. Control E will line up all the views with it. Control A will make sure that all of your windows are the same size, auto size. Now we're going to make the walls. This is simple. You can either select your brush and do Control C, Control V, and then line it up how you want. Or you can select your brush, hold Shift, and copy drag. Or you can make a new brush with the box tool, which is Shift B, but I never use a shortcut key for some reason, Shift B. I believe that Valve's general height for walls is 112 units, but I usually make it 104 units, but we'll go with Valve stuff, which is 112. Press Z in your 3D view to move around, look at it, etc. By the way, in our texture browser, we selected no draw last, and so no draw is what's selected in the textures quick list. So any brush we make will be in no draw. Shift A for the texture window again. If we select something like ladder, and then make a brush, it's now in ladder, because ladder is what the quick texture view thingy is now selected to. So we want to put that back on no draw, and I did it rather than going to this window and clicking the no draw. I just selected no draw on one of these faces. Another thing about the texture window is that you can select your face by just clicking on one of the faces of one of your brushes. Another thing you can do is select it like I just did, and then right click to apply it, and then now you can see if you click on the ladder, it's ladder, no draw, it's no draw, and whatever's in here, if you right click, and that's what it applies to. Also, if you hold down Control, you can select multiple brush faces. But we're just going to keep everything as no draw and go back to copy pasting the walls. General rule, 16 units wide. Right now I'm using the clip tool down here, Shift X. If you push the clip tool again, or hotkey again, it will simply cut the brush in half rather than cutting one end off. Hit it again, cuts off the right side, hit it again, you're back to the left side, and you can move those around however you want. Stretch out your brush, line it up. Always line it up with the grid if you can on these lighter colored lines rather than these darker colored lines. These lighter colored lines are every 8 units, no matter what size grid you have. Well, every 8 blocks, not really every 8 units, because right now we're down to 32 units, 16 units, 8 units. As you can see, it's doubling. 8 units, 16, 32, 64, 128, 512, 1024. Continuing on. Just for the sake of having things symmetrical, we're going to make these two brushes go in between those two brushes. You don't want any brushwork to cut through existing brushwork. If you're going to have something like this, you want to cut out that portion and delete it so that now there's a gap where that brush goes. Control C, Control Z, Control C, Control C, etc., etc. to get back to there. Anyway. So there's your walls. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to texture them. Shift A for the hotkey to the texture window, and we're going to look for something more like plaster. Pick something strange, right click to apply, and then in your texture window you actually have these left, right, fit, top, and bottom lineups. Get something better for this. Okay, there we go. Now, because this wall is lined up with the red line, so is the texture, because everything lines up if you line it up. Okay, Shift Z to make it full size. We had the brush down by the red line, but now we moved it up, and the textures have moved up with it, which means it has automatically moved the texture shift by 64 units. Set it to 0, and you can see that it's now off.
Thanks, Andy.
Uh-huh. It helps in a very, very, very small way if you have the texture shift set to 0 whenever possible. You know, little things add up. Anyway, back to the wall, select it and hit bottom, and it will now align the bottom of the texture to the bottom of the brush face. Right click to apply these settings to the other walls. Now we need a floor texture, so we're going to do floor.
Okay, would you girls go down and take care of chickens? Give them
Find something, apply it, and now we have our walls and floor. Control S or Control S or File, Save, or Save As. I am naming it the tutorial map 1. You always want to have underscores rather than spaces, because if you have spaces your map will not load properly and you won't know why, but now you will. So save it as that, replace, yep, end of tutorial 2.